Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it. Then let's evaluate together. The rain was coming down hard, turning the Bronx into a shimmering mess of puddles and neon reflections. It was past midnight, and the streets smelled like wet asphalt and desperation. Flickering signs buzzed above dive bars and pawn shops, their pink and blue glow cutting through the downpour. On a corner near Tremont Avenue, Kaya Ellison stood under a busted streetlight, her cheap jacket soaked through, clinging to her curves. Her dark skin glistened under the rain, and her curly hair, wild and untamed, framed a face that could stop traffic. Sharp cheekbones, full lips, and brown eyes that burned with defiance. At 20, she'd seen enough shit to know the world didn't give a damn about her dreams. But she held on to them anyway, tucked in a battered sketchbook stuffed in her backpack, filled with designs for dresses. She swore she'd make one day. Kaya shifted her weight, scanning the street for trouble. The Bronx, expletive, cold, was biting, but she couldn't afford to care. She had to make enough tonight to keep Marcus Big Mo off her back. The debt her foster sister left behind was a noose around her neck, and Mo's crew wasn't exactly the forgiving type. She muttered under her breath, "Fuck this rain, fuck this life," across town in a Manhattan penthouse that screamed money. Lennox Warrick poured himself another whiskey. At 35, he had it all. A tech empire, a face that made women weak, and a bank account that could buy half the city. Tall, with dark brown hair and piercing green eyes, he looked like he'd stepped out of a GQ cover. But tonight, his tailored suit felt like a straitjacket. His ex-wife Celeste had called earlier, sniffing around for more cash, her voice dripping with the same venom that had gutted him during their divorce. She'd cheated, lied, and walked away with millions, leaving Lennox with a heart he'd sworn never to use again. He downed the whiskey, grabbed his keys, and headed for his Rolls-Royce. He needed to drive to feel something, anything to drown out the emptiness. The Bronx was the last place a guy like Lennox belonged, but that's why he was here. The chaos, the grit. It was a middle finger to the polished world he ruled. He cruised down Grand Concourse, the car's engine purring like a beast when he saw her. Kaya cornered in an alley by a drunk asshole twice her size. The guy had her pinned against a brick wall, his meaty hand gripping her wrist, his other fumbling at her jacket. Kaya's eyes flashed with fury, but fear flickered too. She was reaching for something in her pocket. A knife, maybe, when Lennox slammed on the brakes. He was out of the car before he could think, rain soaking his Armani suit. "Hey, asshole!" he shouted, voice cutting through the storm. The guy turned bleary-eyed and sneered. "Mind your own fucking business, pretty boy." Lennox didn't bother with words. He swung hard, his fist connecting with the guy's jaw, sending him sprawling into a pile of trash bags. The drunk groaned, tried to stand, then thought better of it and stumbled off cursing. Lennox turned to Kaya, who was breathing hard, her hand still clutching a small switchblade. She looked him up and down, rain dripping from her lashes, and smirked. "Who the fuck are you?" "Superman." Lennox caught his breath, wiping blood from his knuckles. "Just a guy who hates assholes." "You okay?" Kaya flicked her blade shut, shoving it in her pocket. "Yeah, my knight in shining suit." She eyed his soaked clothes, the Rolex glinting on his wrist. "Thanks for the save, rich boy, but I ain't your damsel." He chuckled, the sound low and warm, surprising himself. "Didn't say you were name's Lennox." She raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Kaya, and don't get any ideas. I don't do charity cases." The rain slowed to a drizzle and Lennox gestured to his car. "Come on, at least get out of this shit weather. I'm not gonna bite." Kaya hesitated, her street smarts, screaming trap, but something in his eyes, maybe the way they softened when he looked at her, made her take the chance. She slid into the passenger seat, the leather smelling like money. Lennox got in, cranking the heat. For a moment, They just sat there, the hum of the engine filling the silence. So he said, glancing at her, "What's a girl like you doing in a dump like this?" Kaya snorted, leaning back. "A girl like me. You mean a black girl from the Bronx, hustling to survive? Same old story, man. What's your deal? Slumming it for kicks?" Lennox smirked. "Something like that. Needed a break from the bullshit uptown." She laughed sharp and real. "Oh, poor rich boy. Life's so hard with your fancy car and penthouse, huh?" He didn't take the bait, just looked at her curious. "You're not like the others out here. What's your story?" "Kaya," she tensed her guard, snapping back up. "Why you writing a book?" "Maybe I just want to know." Kaya chewed her lip, weighing her words. Finally, she shrugged. "Fine. I'm stuck out here, paying off a debt that ain't even mine. My foster sister got in deep with some bad people, then bailed. Now I'm the one stuck with Big Mo's crew breathing down my neck. But I got dreams. You know, I'm gonna design dresses, badass ones for girls like me who the world loves to shit on." Lennox listened, his eyes locked on her. Her voice was fire raw and unapologetic, and it stirred something in him he thought was long dead. "You're an artist," he said. "Not a question." She scoffed, but her cheeks warmed. "Yeah, well, artists don't eat, and Mo's goons don't take IOUs. He reached into his wallet, pulled out 5 crisp hundreds, and slid them across the console. "For your time and your story." Kaya stared at the cash, her jaw tight. "I ain't your charity case, Lennox. It's not charity, it's respect." She hesitated, then snatched the bills, stuffing them in her jacket. "You're weird as hell, you know that." He grinned. "Heard worse." They talked for an hour. The rain, a soft patter outside. Kaya loosened up her wit, sharp as a blade. She told him about sketching dresses in her tiny apartment, about the time she snuck into a fashion show in Manhattan just to see the runway, only to get kicked out for looking suspicious. Lennox laughed, picturing her flipping off the security guards. He told her about his company dodging the details of his divorce, but she caught the pain in his voice anyway. "You got burned, huh?" she said, smirking. "What, some gold digger break your heart?" He looked away, jaw tight. "Something like that." Kaya didn't push. She glanced at the dashboard clock and sighed. "Gotta bounce. Mo's gonna have my ass if I don't show up soon." Lennox pulled out a business card, sleek embossed with his name and number. "Take this. If you need anything, call me." She took it, squinting. "This shit looks like it's from a dollar store. You sure you're loaded?" He laughed, the sound filling the car. "You're a piece of work, Kaya." "Yeah, and you're trouble." She opened the door, pausing. "Thanks, Lennox. For real." He watched her disappear into the neon-lit street, her silhouette fading into the rain. His chest felt tight, like something had shifted inside him. He didn't know it yet, but Kaya Ellison had just turned his world upside down. Back in her cramped apartment, Kaya tossed the cash on her bed next to her sketchbook. She opened it, tracing a half-finished design, a dress with bold lines, meant for a woman who didn't give a damn what the world thought. She thought of Lennox, his green eyes, his stupid, expensive suit. "Trouble," she muttered, but a smile tugged at her lips. The next night, she was back on the corner, the neon glow her only friend, but this time she kept his card in her pocket, her fingers brushing it like a lifeline. She didn't know why, but she felt it. This wasn't the last she'd see of Lennox Warrick. Across the city, Lennox sat in his penthouse, the skyline glittering outside. He couldn't stop thinking about her, her fire, her laugh, the way she called him out without blinking. He'd spent years building walls, but one night with Kaya had cracked them. "Fuck," he muttered, pouring another drink. "What am I doing?" He didn't have an answer, but he knew one thing. He'd be back in the Bronx tomorrow night. "Yo, you hooked on Lennox and Kaya's story yet? That alley fight. That car convo shit's about to get wilder. Smash that subscribe button and drop a comment. Tell me who you're rooting for. Are you Team Kaya, Team Lennox, or just here for the neon vibes? Let's see where this crazy ride takes us. The Bronx was a different beast in daylight, but it still had teeth. Kaya Ellison stood outside her crumbling apartment building, the air thick with the smell of fried plantains from a nearby food truck and the distant wail of sirens. Her sketchbook was tucked under her arm, pages filled with dreams she barely let herself believe in. Last night's rain had left puddles that reflected the gray sky, but her mind was stuck on Lennox Warrick. Those green eyes that damn suit the way he'd looked at her like she was more than just another girl on the corner. She pulled his business card from her pocket, the edges already worn from her fidgeting. "Fucking trouble," she muttered, but her lips twitched into a smile. Across the river in a Manhattan penthouse that could make a king jealous, Lennox leaned against a floor-to-ceiling window, the city skyline sprawling below like a glittering chessboard. The place was a masterpiece: marble floors, sleek furniture, a bar stocked with whiskey older than most people's marriages. But it felt empty, like a museum for a life he didn't live anymore. He hadn't stopped thinking about Kaya since that night in the Bronx, her fire, her laugh, the way she'd called his card, cheap ass. It was like a song stuck in his head. He'd spent years dodging feelings after Celeste ripped his heart out, but 1 hour with Kaya had him questioning everything. "What the hell am I doing?" he said to the empty room, running a hand through his dark hair. His phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Henry, his British butler, and the only person he trusted not to screw him over. "Sir, your car is ready. Shall I assume you're off to broaden your horizons again?" Lennox smirked. Henry's dry humor was the only thing keeping him sane some days. He typed back, "Something like that. Don't wait up. By dusk." Lennox was back in the Bronx, his Rolls-Royce sticking out like a diamond in a coal mine. He parked near Tremont, scanning the street until he saw her. Kaya leaning against a lamppost, her jacket barely shielding her from the evening chill. She spotted him and raised an eyebrow, sauntering over with a swagger that screamed she didn't trust him, but was curious anyway. "Back for more of my sparkling personality," she said, sliding into the passenger seat. "Or you just lost in the hood again?" Lennox grinned, handing her a small package wrapped in brown paper. "Figured you'd want this." Kaya eyed it like it might bite. "What's this shit? You trying to buy me? Open it and find out." She tore the paper, revealing a leather-bound sketchbook and a set of colored pencils, the kind she'd only seen in fancy art stores. Her breath caught, but she covered it with a scoff. "You're out here playing Santa Claus now. What's next? A pony?" He laughed low and warm. "Thought you could use it for those badass dresses you're gonna make." Kaya's fingers traced the sketchbook's cover, her tough girl mask slipping for a second. "You're weird, Lennox. But thanks." They started meeting like that, him showing up in the Bronx, her letting him close her bit by bit. He brought her coffee, listened to her rant about Big Mo's latest threats, and once he got her to laugh so hard she snorted when he admitted he'd never tried jerk chicken man. "You're missing out," she said, shaking her head. "Stick with me. I'll show you how to live." One night he took it further. "Come to my place," he said, his voice soft but serious. "No strings. I just want to see your sketches." Kaya hesitated, her street smarts screaming bad idea, but the way he looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered made her say yes. "Fine. But if you try anything, I'm cutting your ass." His penthouse was another planet. Kaya stepped out of the elevator, her sneakers squeaking on the marble floor, and let out a low whistle. "Holy shit, you live like this. I'm in the wrong damn business." Lennox chuckled, loosening his tie. "It's just a place. Come on, show me your designs." They sat at his dining table, a slab of polished oak that probably cost more than her whole apartment. Kaya opened her old sketchbook, her hands shaking slightly as she flipped to a drawing of a dress, bold, asymmetrical, with a vibe that screamed defiance. Lennox leaned in his shoulder, brushing hers. "Damn, Kaya, this is incredible," she blushed, brushing it off. "It's just scribbles." "Nah, it's art." He grabbed a pencil, handing it to her. "Show me how you do it." That's when it happened, the moment that changed everything. Under the soft glow of a chandelier, Lennox guided her hand, showing her how to smooth out a curve on the page. His fingers were warm, steady, and when they touched hers, a spark shot through her. She froze, her breath hitching. He looked at her, those green eyes searching, and before she could talk herself out of it, he leaned in and kissed her forehead, soft as a whisper. "You're a fucking artist, Kaya," he murmured. "Don't let anyone tell you different." She didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned into him, her head resting against his chest, the steady thump of his heartbeat grounding her. For the first time in years, she felt safe. "Nobody's ever seen me like this," she whispered, her voice cracking. He held her closer, his lips brushing her hair. "Then they're idiots." The moment was interrupted by Henry, who shuffled in with a tray of tea, his gray eyebrows shooting up. "Oh dear, I thought we were discussing business, not whatever this is." He set the tray down, muttering, "Young love, messier than my aunt's shepherd's pie." Kaya burst out laughing, the tension breaking. "Yo, your butler's a comedian," Lennox groaned, but he was smiling. "Henry, you're fired." "Promises, promises." Henry deadpanned, shuffling out. That night, Kaya went home with a lightness she hadn't felt in years, but the world wasn't done testing them. A week later, Lennox dropped a bomb. He wanted her to come to a charity gala in Manhattan, one of those black tie affairs where the city's elite sipped champagne and pretended to care about the poor. "I want you there," he said. "As my guest?" Kaya stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "You want me at some fancy-ass party? I'm a Bronx girl." "Lennox, they'll eat me alive." He took her hand, his grip firm. "Let 'em try. I've got your back." Against her better judgment, she agreed. Lennox had one of her sketches turned into a real dress, a deep purple number with a plunging neckline and a slit that showed off her legs. When she tried it on, she barely recognized herself in the mirror. "Damn," she said, twirling. "I look like I belong somewhere." "You do." Lennox said, his voice low, his eyes drinking her in. "You belong everywhere." The gala was at a swanky hotel ballroom, all crystal chandeliers and waiters in tuxes. Kaya walked in on Lennox's arm, her heart pounding like a drum. The room was a sea of white faces, designer gowns and fake smiles. She felt every eye on her, heard the whispers behind manicured hands. "Who's that black girl? His latest fling? Is she—" "You know one of those girls." Lennox squeezed her hand, his jaw tight. "Ignore them. They're just jealous." But the tension built like a storm. A silver-haired investor, some big shot named Gerald, pulled Lennox aside, his voice low but sharp. "Warrick, what's this nonsense? Parading around with a street girl. Drop her, or I'm pulling my funding." Lennox's eyes flashed. "Go ahead, Gerald. I don't need your money, or your bullshit." Kaya overheard her stomach twisting. She tried to keep her cool, but then a woman in a pearl necklace, some socialite with a face like a Botox ad, spilled her drink, accidentally on Kaya's dress, smirking. "Oops. Maybe stick to your own kind." "Honey." That was it. Kaya's blood boiled. She wanted to throw a punch, but instead she turned and bolted, her heels clicking on the marble floor. She made it to the hotel's rooftop, the city lights blurring through tears she refused to let fall. Fuck this, she hissed, ripping off her earrings. I don't belong here. Lennox found her, his tie loose, his face a mix of anger and worry. Kaya, wait. Don't let those assholes get to you. She spun on him, her voice shaking. You don't get it, Lennox. This ain't my world. I'm just a Bronx rat in your shiny fucking bubble, and they all know it. He stepped closer, grabbing her shoulders. Bullshit. You're worth more than their whole damn world. Kaya, I see you. I choose you. She stared at him, her chest heaving, wanting to believe him, but scared to death. The city hummed below, indifferent to their fight. For a moment they just stood there, the neon glow of New York, wrapping them in its electric embrace. Back in the Bronx, Kaya lay on her lumpy mattress, staring at the ceiling. Her dress hung on the wall, a reminder of a night that felt like a dream and a nightmare. She thought of Lennox's words, his touch, the way he'd fought for her. But doubt gnawed at her. Could a girl like her really fit in his world? Or was this just another trap waiting to break her? In Manhattan, Lennox stood on his balcony, a whiskey in hand, the city's pulse matching his own. He'd never felt this alive, or this terrified. Kaya was a wildfire, and he was ready to burn. But he knew the world. His world wouldn't make it easy. Fuck it, he muttered. She's worth it. The Bronx never slept, but it got meaner at night. The air was thick with the smell of burnt rubber and cheap weed, and the neon signs buzzed like angry wasps. Kaya Ellison stood outside a dive bar called the Rusty Nail, its flickering sign casting pink light across her dark skin. Her curly hair was pulled back, but a few strands stuck to her neck, damp from the humid summer air. She wore a ripped tank top and jeans, her sketchbook tucked in her backpack, a constant reminder of the life she wanted, but couldn't reach. The $500 from Lennox were long gone, handed over to Big Mo's goons to keep them off her ass. But the debt still loomed, a weight that made every step feel like wading through mud. Kaya's mind was a mess. That night at the gala had fucked her up, those rich pricks whispering that bitch spilling wine on her dress, the way she'd run like a coward. But Lennox's words kept echoing. I choose you. She wanted to believe him. But the Bronx had taught her one thing. Trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Still, she kept his card in her pocket, her fingers brushing it like it could summon him. Dumbass, she muttered to herself, kicking a pebble across the cracked sidewalk. You're falling for a fairy tale. In Manhattan, Lennox Warrick sat in his corner office, a glass box perched 50 stories above the city. The walls were lined with screens, flashing stock tickers and crypto charts, the heartbeat of his tech empire. He looked sharp as ever. Tailored suit hair, just messy enough to be sexy, but his green eyes were tired. The gala had been a shit show, and not just because of the snobs. His mother had called the next day, her voice dripping with Upper East Side disdain. A street girl, Lennox. You're embarrassing the family. He'd hung up on her, but the words stung. Worse, his investor. Gerald was making good on his threat, pulling funds from a key project. Lennox didn't give a damn about the money, he had plenty, but the message was clear. Kaya was a liability. He leaned back in his chair, staring at a photo on his desk. Him and Kaya taken by Henry during one of their late-night talks in the penthouse. She was laughing, her eyes bright, a pencil tucked behind her ear. Lennox's chest tightened. Fuck it, he said, grabbing his phone. He texted her. Meet me tonight. Same spot. I'm not letting you push me away. Kaya's phone buzzed as she stepped into the Rusty Nail, the bar's sticky air hitting her like a slap. The place was a dump, peeling paint wobbly stools and a jukebox blasting old-school hip-hop. Her best friend Lila was behind the counter pouring shots for a rowdy crew of regulars. Lila was 22 with skin a shade darker than Kaya's and a smile that could charm a snake. She spotted Kaya and waved her over. Yo, girl, you look like you got the world on your shoulders. What's good? Kaya slid onto a stool, grabbing a handful of peanuts from a bowl. Same old shit. Mo's on my ass, and... She hesitated, lowering her voice. That rich guy, Lennox. He's got me fucked up. Lila's eyes lit up. Oh, rich boy. Spill the tea, Kaya. He's still chasing you. Kaya groaned, but a smile slipped through. He's different. Took me to this bougie-ass gala, got me a dress made from my own design, but his world's a shark tank, Lila. They looked at me like I was trash. Lila snorted, sliding her a beer. Fuck 'em, you're a queen. And this Lennox dude sounds like he's got it bad for you. You into him? Kaya took a swig, dodging the question. He's trouble. That's all I know. Trouble was an understatement. Across town, Celeste Warrick sat in her sleek Tribeca loft sipping a martini and plotting. At 33, she was still a knockout. Blonde, leggy, with a smile that could cut glass. She'd bled Lennox dry in the divorce, but it wasn't enough. She wanted him broken, and this Bronx girl was the perfect leverage. Celeste scrolled through her phone, landing on a text from Sophie, a Vogue reporter she'd charmed into doing her dirty work. Got the dirt on your ex's new fling. She's a hooker from the Bronx. Want me to run it? Celeste smirked, typing back. Do it. Make it ugly. By midnight, Kaya was back on her corner, the bar's noise fading behind her. She hated this standing under the neon glow waiting for some creep to roll up. But Mo's crew had been clear, miss. A payment and she'd pay in blood. Her phone buzzed Lennox again. I'm here. Look up. She spotted his Rolls Royce across the street, its black paint gleaming like a panther. Her perspective changed to her, waving her over. Yo, rich boy, you stalking me now? She called, striding over. Lennox leaned against the car, rain speckling his suit. Only if you're into that kind of thing. She smirked, but her eyes were wary. What's the deal, Lennox? You got a hero complex or something? He stepped closer, his voice low. I'm here because I can't stop thinking about you, and I'm not letting you deal with this shit alone. Kaya's heart skipped, but she crossed her arms. You don't know what you're signing up for. I owe Big Mo serious cash. He's not some Wall Street asshole you can buy off. Lennox's jaw tightened. Let me help. I've got resources. I ain't your charity case. She snapped, her voice sharp. I handle my own shit. Before he could reply, headlights flashed down the street. A beat-up Chevy screeched to a stop, and a familiar face leaned out Joey, one of Mo's goons, with a scar across his cheek and a grin like a hyena. Yo, Kaya, you slacking Mo's pissed. You better have his money. Kaya's stomach dropped. I'm working on it, Joey. Tell Mo to chill. Joey laughed, cold and mean. Chill. You think this is a game? You got till tomorrow or you're fucked. He revved the engine, peeling out. Lennox's fists clenched. Who the hell was that? Kaya sighed, her shoulders slumping. One of Mo's guys. I told you this ain't your world. Lennox grabbed her hand, his grip firm but gentle. Then let me in. I'm not scared of some thug. She pulled away, her voice bitter. You should be Mo's, not just a thug. He's a fucking monster. The tension was cut by a shout from the bar. Lila poked her head out, waving. Kaya, get your ass in here. Some dude's trying to start a fight. Kaya cursed under her breath, jogging back to the bar. Lennox followed, ignoring her protests. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and sweat. A drunk guy was yelling at Lila, slamming his fist on the counter. Give me another shot. Bitch. Lila rolled her eyes. You're cut off, dumbass. Go home. The guy lunged, grabbing Lila's arm. Before Kaya could move, Lennox was there, yanking the guy back and slamming him against the wall. Touch her again and you're eating through a straw, he growled. The drunk struggled, then saw Lennox's size and backed off, muttering curses as he stumbled out. Lila whistled. "Damn rich boy's got moves, you keeping him." Kaya shot her a look. "Shut up, Lila." Lennox wiped his hands, his eyes on Kaya. "You okay?" She nodded, but her hands shook. "Yeah. Thanks. Again." They stepped outside, the neon lights painting their faces in electric hues. Kaya lit a cigarette, the smoke curling into the night. "You keep playing hero. You're gonna get hurt," she said softly. Lennox stepped closer, his voice fierce. "I don't care. I'm not walking away from you." She looked at him, her eyes searching. For a moment, she let herself imagine it. Him by her side, fighting her battles. But then her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Your boyfriend's trouble. Ditch him, or we will." Her blood ran cold. This wasn't just Mo. Someone else was watching across town. Celeste smiled at her phone, Sophie's latest message glowing on the screen. "Stories live. Millionaire's Bronx hooker. It's trending." She raised her martini glass, toasting her revenge. "Game on Lennox, back in the Bronx." Kaya shoved her phone in her pocket, her face hard. "You need to go," she told Lennox. "This shit's getting real." He didn't budge. "I'm not leaving you to deal with this alone." She wanted to scream, to push him away, but his eyes held her steady, unafraid. "You're a fucking idiot," she said. But her voice cracked, and for the first time she didn't pull away when he reached for her hand. The Bronx was a maze of shadows, and the old warehouse on East 138th Street was its darkest corner. The place reeked of oil and rust, its cracked concrete floor littered with broken bottles and cigarette butts. Outside, the neon glow of the city felt miles away, swallowed by the night's heavy silence. Inside, Kaya Ellison was tied to a metal chair, her wrists burning from the coarse rope. Her dark skin glistened with sweat, and her curly hair was matted against her forehead. Her brown eyes, usually sharp with defiance, flickered with fear, but only for a moment. She wasn't about to let these assholes see her break. "Fuck you, Joey," she spat at the scar-faced goon pacing in front of her. "You think Mo's gonna let you live after this?" Joey, one of Big Mo's enforcers, grinned his teeth, yellow under the warehouse's flickering bulb. "Shut your mouth." "Kaya, you're the one who fucked up cozying up to that rich boy. Mo don't like loose ends." Kaya's stomach twisted. This wasn't just about the debt anymore. Someone had ratted her out, and she had a sinking feeling it wasn't just Mo pulling the strings. Her mind flashed to the text she'd gotten last night. "Ditch him, or we will." She'd ignored it, thinking it was another empty threat. Now here she was, trapped in this shithole, with no idea if Lennox was even coming, or if he'd walk into a trap. In Manhattan, Lennox Warrick was a man on fire. He stood in his penthouse, barking orders into his phone, his green eyes blazing. His suit was gone, replaced by a black hoodie and jeans, clothes that wouldn't scream millionaire in the Bronx. "I don't care what it costs," he snapped at his head of security, a grizzled ex-Marine named Vince. "Get your team to that warehouse." Now, he hung up, grabbing a Glock from a locked drawer. He wasn't a fighter, not really, but for Kaya he'd go to war. Henry, his butler, hovered nearby, his usual dry humor replaced by worry. "Sir, if I may, this is ill-advised. The police." "No cops." Lennox cut him off, checking the gun's clip. "Mo's got half the precinct in his pocket. I'm handling this." Henry sighed, adjusting his glasses. "Very well, but if you get yourself killed, I'll be most displeased. Who'll sign my paychecks?" Lennox managed a grim smile. "You'll survive, old man." The drive to the Bronx was a blur. the Rolls-Royce's engine roaring as Lennox weaved through traffic. His phone buzzed another headline from Sophie's smear campaign, Tech Mogul's Scandal Affair with Bronx Prostitute. Celeste's handiwork, no doubt. He cursed under his breath, tossing the phone onto the seat. None of it mattered. All he could see was Kaya's face, her laugh, the way she'd leaned into him that night in the penthouse. He'd be damned if he let Mo take her. Back in the warehouse, Kaya was working on a plan. Joey was distracted arguing with another goon about who'd get the bigger cut from the ransom. She tested the ropes, her wrists raw, but the knots loosening slightly. If she could just keep them talking. "Yo, Joey," she called, her voice steady despite the pain. "You know, Mo's gonna screw you over, right? He's probably laughing his ass off while you do his dirty work." Joey spun his face red. "You think you're smart, huh? Keep talking and I'll cut that pretty face." Kaya smirked, leaning forward. "Go ahead. But you touch me. Mo's gonna have your balls. He wants me alive for the payout." Joey hesitated, and that was her opening. She yanked her wrist free, lunging for a broken bottle on the floor. But before she could swing, the warehouse door exploded inward, and Lennox stormed in Vince and 3 armed guys behind him. "Kaya," he shouted, spotting her. Joey pulled a gun, but Vince was faster, dropping him with a shot to the leg. The other goon bolted, disappearing into the shadows. Lennox ran to Kaya, cutting her ropes with a knife from Vince's kit. "You okay?" he asked, his hands shaking as he checked her for injuries. Kaya's breath hitched relief, flooding her. "You dumb fuck. You actually came." He grinned, despite the chaos. "Told you I'm not walking away." But the fight wasn't over. A low chuckle echoed from the back of the warehouse, and Big Mo stepped into the light. At 40, he was built like a tank, his shaved head gleaming, his eyes cold as steel. He clapped slowly, a gun dangling in his hand. "Well, damn, rich boys got balls. But you're in my house now." Lennox stood, shielding Kaya. "Let her go." "Mo, name your price." Mo laughed deep and mean. "You think this is about money? Your girl's been running her mouth, making me look weak. That's a problem." Kaya's heart pounded. She knew Mo didn't bluff, but then she saw it, a flicker of distraction in his eyes. He was stalling, waiting for backup. She had to act. "Lennox, he's full of shit," she whispered. "He's got more guys coming." Lennox nodded, his jaw tight. "Vince, cover us." What happened next was a blur. Mo raised his gun, but Kaya moved first, faking a stumble and collapsing to the floor. Mo's attention snapped to her, and Lennox seized the moment, tackling him. The gun skidded across the concrete, and the 2 men grappled, fists flying. Mo was stronger, but Lennox was desperate. He landed a solid punch, stunning Mo long enough for Vince to zip-tie his hands. Kaya scrambled to her feet, grabbing Mo's gun. She pointed it at him, her hands steady now. "Game over, asshole." Mo glared, but there was a glint of respect in his eyes. "You're tougher than I thought, girl." Vince's team swept the warehouse, securing the area, but the victory was short-lived. Lennox clutched his shoulder blood seeping through his hoodie. Mo's knife had grazed him during the fight. Deeper than he'd realized, Kaya's face paled. "Lennox, you're hit." "I'm fine," he grunted, but his knees buckled. Vince hauled him up. "We gotta move. Backup's coming." They piled into the Rolls-Royce, speeding to a private hospital in Manhattan. Kaya sat in the back, holding Lennox's hand, her heart in her throat. "You better not die on me, you hear me?" she said, her voice breaking. "I'll kick your ass." Lennox managed a weak smile. "Not planning to, sweetheart?" At the hospital, the sterile smell of antiseptic hit Kaya like a wave. She paced the waiting room, her sneakers squeaking on the linoleum while Vince stood guard. Her phone buzzed. Lila texting. "Heard you're in deep shit. You okay?" Kaya ignored it too, wired to deal with anyone. When the doctor finally came out saying Lennox would pull through, she nearly collapsed with relief. She slipped into his room where he lay hooked to an IV, his face pale but his eyes still sharp. "You look like hell," she said, sitting beside him. He chuckled, wincing. "You should see the other guy." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the night settling between them. Then Kaya's phone buzzed again, this time with a news alert. Warrick's Bronx. Scandal escalates. New details on prostitute. Girlfriend. Her stomach dropped. Someone was feeding the press, and it wasn't just Sophie. That's when Lila showed up, bursting into the room, her eyes red. "Kaya, I fucked up," she blurted. "Mo's guys. They threatened my little brother. I told them where you'd be. I didn't mean." Kaya's blood ran cold. "You what?" Lila sobbed, grabbing her arm. "I was scared." "Okay." They said they'd hurt him. "I'm so sorry." Kaya yanked her arm free, her voice low and deadly. "You sold me out, Lila. I trusted you." Lennox reached for her, his voice weak. "Kaya." She was scared. Don't you dare!" Kaya snapped, tears burning her eyes. "This is my life, Lennox, and now you're bleeding because of it." Lila backed away, still crying. "I'll make it right. I swear." Kaya didn't answer. She sank into the chair, her head in her hands. The betrayal cut deeper than Mo's ropes. But then, Lennox's hand found hers, his grip weak, but steady. "We'll figure this out," he said. "Together." That's when the dam broke. Kaya leaned in, her lips crashing against his, desperate and raw. The hospital bed creaked as she climbed onto it, straddling him, careful not to hurt his wound. Their kisses deepened a storm of need and fear, their bodies pressed close under the flickering fluorescent light. "I love you," she whispered against his mouth, the words spilling out before she could stop them. "But this shit's gonna kill us." He pulled her closer, his hands tangling in her hair. "Then we'll go down fighting." The door creaked and Henry's voice cut through. "Good Lord, I need a raise for this nonsense." He stood there holding a tray of coffee, his face a mix of shock and amusement. Kaya laughed through her tears, climbing off the bed. "Your butler's got timing. I'll give him that." Lennox groaned, but his eyes sparkled. "Henry, you're definitely fired." "Promises, promises," Henry muttered, setting the tray down and shuffling out. Kaya looked at Lennox, her heart a tangled mess. She loved him, she loved him. But Lila's betrayal and the headlines were a warning. This wasn't just about Mo anymore. Someone was coming for them and they weren't stopping. The hospital room was too damn quiet. The kind of quiet that made your skin crawl. Kaya Ellison sat on a hard plastic chair, her sneakers tapping a nervous rhythm on the linoleum floor. The smell of antiseptic clung to everything, mixing with the faint metallic tang of Lennox's blood, still lingering in her memory. He was asleep now, his chest rising and falling under the thin hospital blanket, the bandage on his shoulder, a stark white against his skin. Those green eyes she'd come to love were hidden, but even unconscious, he looked like he was ready to fight the world for her. It scared the shit out of her, because she wasn't sure she was worth it. Kaya's hands trembled as she scrolled through her phone, the headlines screaming at her. Warrick's Bronx fling from streets to scandal. Sophie's article had gone viral, painting Kaya as a gold-digging hooker who'd seduced a millionaire for his cash. Every word was a knife slicing through the fragile hope she'd let herself feel. Worse, the article had details only someone close to her could know, like the debt to Big Mo, the corner she worked. Lila's betrayal was bad enough, but this was someone else. Someone with a vendetta, and Kaya had a pretty good guess who. She glanced at Lennox, her heart twisting. He'd taken a knife for her, stormed a fucking warehouse to save her, But the closer they got, the more dangerous it became. "You're gonna get yourself killed, dumbass," she whispered, brushing a lock of dark hair from his forehead. Her fingers lingered, tracing the line of his jaw. She loved him, fuck. She loved him so much it hurt, but love didn't erase the fact that she was poison to his world. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of it. A text from an unknown number. "Leave him or the world knows everything. You're a broken toy, Kaya." Attached was a photo, a grainy shot of her years ago, bruised and battered after a run-in with Mo's crew when she'd tried to escape the debt. Her stomach churned. Whoever sent this knew her past, her shame, and they were ready to use it. Kaya's mind raced. She thought of Celeste Lennox's ex-wife, that blonde viper who'd been circling like a shark, the headlines, the threats it all pointed to her. But how the hell did she know so much? Kaya's fingers tightened around the phone. She wasn't running this time. Not from Mo, not from Celeste, not from anyone. Across town in her Tribeca loft, Celeste, Warrick, lounged on a velvet sofa, her manicured nails tapping a glass of rosé. The loft was a shrine to her ego mirrors. Everywhere, designer furniture, a chandelier that cost more than most people's cars. She scrolled through X, smirking at the chaos her little article had caused. Sophie had outdone herself. And the best part, it was only the beginning. Celeste had bigger plans. Plans to ruin Lennox and his little Bronx slut for good. She dialed Sophie, her voice sugar-sweet. "You've got more dirt, don't you? Something juicier." Sophie on the other end sounded nervous. "I've got some photos, yeah. But Celeste, this is getting heavy. People are asking questions." Celeste's smile didn't waver. "Then answer them. Or do you want to be blacklisted from every fashion desk in the city?" Sophie went quiet, then muttered, "Fine, I'll send what I have." Back in the hospital, Lennox stirred, his eyes fluttering open. "Kaya." His voice was rough, but it sent a jolt through her. She forced a smile, shoving her phone in her pocket. "Hey, tough guy, you look like shit." He chuckled, wincing. "Feel like it too. You okay?" She wanted to lie, to tell him everything was fine, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she leaned in, kissing him softly. "You scared the hell out of me, you know that?" He reached for her hand, his grip weak but warm. "Worth it." They sat like that for a while, the hospital's hum fading into the background. But the moment was shattered when Kaya's phone buzzed again, this time a call from Lila. She ignored it, still raw from the betrayal. Lennox noticed his brow furrowing. "You gotta talk to her, Kaya. She messed up, but she's your family." Kaya's jaw tightened. "Family doesn't sell you out to fucking gangsters." He squeezed her hand. She was scared. "People do dumb shit when they're scared." Kaya pulled away, standing. "You don't get it, Lennox. This ain't your world. Lila knew what Mo's crew would do to me. She chose her brother over me. That's not family. That's survival." Lennox didn't push, but his eyes followed her as she paced. "What's eating you?" "It's not just Lila." She stopped her back to him. The truth was a weight she'd carried for years, one she'd never told anyone. But with Celeste's threat looming, she couldn't keep it buried. She turned her voice low. 2 years ago, I tried to run. From Mo, from the debt, from all this shit. I made it as far as Jersey before his guys caught me. They fucked me up. Lennox. Beat me so bad I couldn't walk for a week. Told me if I tried again, they'd kill me. That's who I am, a broken toy, just like the text said. Lennox's face darkened, his fists clenching. "Those bastards, I'll fucking end them." She shook her head, tears burning her eyes. "Don't you get it? I'm not worth it. You're bleeding because of me. Your whole damn world's falling apart because of me. I'm poison, Lennox." He sat up. ignoring the pain, and grabbed her arm. Bullshit. You're not poison, you're everything. I don't give a fuck about my world if you're not in it. She stared at him, her heart splitting open. She wanted to believe him, to let his words fix her, but the text, the headlines, Lila's betrayal, they were a chorus screaming she didn't belong. I can't do this, she said, her voice breaking. I'm not your happy ending. She turned to leave, but he called after her. Kaya, don't you dare walk away. I love you. The words stopped her cold. She looked back, tears streaming down her face. I love you too. But that's not enough. She left him there, the hospital door swinging shut behind her. Outside, the city was a blur of lights and noise, but Kaya felt numb. She didn't go home. Instead, she headed to a small studio in Brooklyn, a cramped room she'd rented with the last of Lennox's cash. It was nothing fancy, just a sewing machine, some fabric, and her sketches pinned to the walls, but it was hers. She sank onto the floor, pulling out her phone. The text stared back at her. You're a broken toy. Fuck you, she whispered, deleting it. She wasn't running anymore. If Celeste wanted a fight, she'd get one. The next day, Kaya got a break. Sophie, of all people, showed up at the studio, her usual smugness gone. She looked like she hadn't slept, her blonde hair messy, her eyes darting nervously. Kaya, I fucked up, she said, clutching a USB drive. Celeste made me run that story. She's got proof, texts, payments to Mo's crew. She's behind the kidnapping. Kaya's blood boiled. Why the hell should I trust you? You threw me under the bus. Sophie flinched. I know I was jealous. Okay, your designs. They're better than anything I've ever seen. But I'm done with Celeste's games. This drive, it's everything you need to take her down. Kaya took the drive, her mind racing. If you're lying, I'll find you. Sophie nodded, backing away. I'm sorry. Kaya, alone again. Kaya plugged the drive into her laptop. It was a goldmine: screenshots of Celeste's texts to Mo, bank transfers, even a voice memo of her laughing about teaching Lennox a lesson. Kaya's hands shook, but not with fear, with rage. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for Lennox, for the life she wanted, for every girl like her who'd been called broken. She called Lila, her voice cold but steady. Meet me at my studio. We're ending this. Lila showed up an hour later, her face puffy from crying. Kaya, I save it. Kaya cut her off. You want to make it right. Help me take down Celeste. But if you fuck me over again, we're done. Lila nodded, her voice small. I'm in. Kaya smirked, a spark of her old fire returning. Good. And if I die, you better wear my designs to my funeral. Lila laughed, a shaky sound. Bitch, you ain't dying. You're too stubborn. They spent the night planning, going through the evidence, mapping out how to confront Celeste. Kaya knew it was a risk. Celeste had money connections and no morals. But she was done being a victim. She thought of Lennox, his voice saying, I love you, and her resolve hardened. This wasn't just about saving their relationship. It was about proving she was more than her past. The next morning, Kaya stood outside Celeste's loft, the USB drive in her pocket. The city buzzed around her, oblivious to the storm she was about to unleash. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding. Time to fuck shit up, she muttered, and knocked on the door. The morning sun cut through the Manhattan skyline, glinting off the glass towers like a promise of something better. But inside Celeste Warrick's Tribeca loft, the air was thick with tension. Kaya Ellison stood in the doorway, her dark skin glowing under the chandelier's light, her curly hair pulled into a tight bun that meant business. She wore a leather jacket and jeans, her sketchbook tucked under her arm like a shield. Her brown eyes burned with a fire that could have set the room ablaze. She wasn't the scared girl from the Bronx anymore. She was a woman ready to fuck shit up. Celeste lounged on her velvet sofa, her blonde hair perfect, her smile sharp as a blade. She sipped a mimosa, eyeing Kaya like a cat with a mouse. "Well, well," she purred. "The little street rats come to play. What do you want?" Kaya didn't flinch. She pulled the USB drive from her pocket, holding it up. "This proof. You paid Mo's crew to kidnap me. It texts bank transfers your voice laughing about screwing over Lennox. It's over. Celeste." Celeste's smile faltered, but she recovered fast. "You think you can scare me with a thumb drive? I'm untouchable, honey. You're just a broke-ass hooker with delusions of grandeur." Kaya stepped closer, her voice low and deadly. "Call me that again and I'll shove that mimosa up your ass. You're done, Celeste. I've got copies of this drive with a lawyer, a reporter, and half the damn internet. One click and you're fucked." Celeste's eyes narrowed, calculating. She set her glass down, standing to meet Kaya's gaze. "You're bluffing. You don't have the guts." Kaya smirked, pulling out her phone and hitting record. "Try me. Say it again. How you paid Mo, how you leaked the story. Let's see how your fancy friends like that." For a moment, Celeste froze, her perfect facade cracking. Then she laughed, cold and mean. "Fine. You want the truth? I paid Mo to get rid of you. I told Sophie to run that story. Lennox is mine, and you're nothing but a stain on his life. You think you can waltz into his world? You're a broken toy. Kaya always will be." Kaya's heart clenched, but she didn't waver. "Keep talking. You're digging your own grave." Celeste's voice rose venomous. "I made him, and I'll break him. You're just collateral damage. Run back to your little corner, or I'll make sure everyone knows what a pathetic Kaya cut her off, stopping the recording." "That's enough." She sent the file to Sophie, who'd promised to make things right, and to a lawyer friend of Lila's. "You're done, Celeste. The world's gonna hear this." Celeste lunged, grabbing for the phone, but Kaya was faster, sidestepping and shoving her back onto the sofa. "Don't test me, bitch," Kaya growled. "I've faced worse than you." Celeste's face twisted with rage, but she didn't move. She knew she was cornered. Kaya turned and walked out, her heart pounding, but her head high. The city outside felt different now, like it belonged to her, just a little. By noon, the story broke. Sophie, desperate to save her career, published a tell-all on Vogue's website, "Ex-Wife's Vendetta, The Truth Behind Warrick's Scandal." The article included Celeste's recorded confession, the evidence from the USB drive, and an apology to Kaya for the earlier smear X, exploded with hashtags like #JusticeForKaya trending. Celeste's socialite friends dropped her like a hot coal, and the police were already knocking on her door, armed with warrants for conspiracy and extortion. Kaya didn't stick around to watch the fallout. She headed back to her Brooklyn studio, a tiny space filled with fabric scraps and hope. Lila was there, stitching a dress from one of Kaya's sketches, her eyes still puffy from their fight. "You did it," Lila said, her voice soft. "You fucking did it." Kaya nodded, sinking onto a stool. "Yeah, but it don't feel like a win." Lila set the dress down, crossing her arms. "You took down a snake, Kaya. That's a win. Now what about Lennox?" Kaya's chest tightened. She hadn't seen him since the hospital, since she'd walked out after his "I love you." She'd been avoiding his calls, his texts, because every word felt like a rope pulling her back to a life she wasn't sure she could live. "I don't know, Lila. He's everything. But I'm still me. The Bronx girl with a fucked up past. I can't keep dragging him down." Lila rolled her eyes. "Girl, you ain't dragging him nowhere. That man's crazy about you. But you gotta figure out what you want." Kaya looked at her sketches, the dresses she'd poured her soul into. She thought of the gala, the warehouse, the way Lennox had fought for her. But she also thought of herself, her dreams, her strength, the fire that had kept her alive. She wasn't just Lennox's girl. She was Kaya fucking Ellison. That night she went to the hospital, her heart a tangled mess. Lennox was sitting up his shoulder, still bandaged, but his color back. He lit up when he saw her, but his smile faded at the look on her face. "Kaya, what's wrong?" She sat beside him, her hands clasped tight. "I took down Celeste. She's done. The story's out, and Mo's crew is off my back. I'm free, Lennox." For the first time in years, he reached for her, his voice soft. "That's amazing. So why do you look like you're about to bolt?" She took a deep breath, the words heavy. "Because I can't stay. I love you, fuck. I love you so much. It hurts, but I need to figure out who I am, without all this noise, without Mo, without Celeste, without you." Lennox's face fell, his green eyes searching hers. "Kaya, don't do this. We can figure it out together." She shook her head, tears spilling over. "You gave me wings, Lennox. But I gotta fly on my own. If I stay, I'll always wonder if I'm enough. I need to know I am." He grabbed her hand, his voice breaking. "You're enough. You're more than enough." She leaned in, kissing him one last time, slow and deep, memorizing the taste of him. "I know, but I gotta prove it to myself." She left a letter on his bedside table, her handwriting shaky, but sure. "You changed my life, Lennox. You saw me when no one else did. But I need to see myself now. Don't hate me. Your neon girl, Kaya." A month later, Kaya stood in her Brooklyn studio, now buzzing with life. She'd used the last of Lennox's cash to buy more fabric, a better sewing machine, and a neon sign that read, "Neon Glow Designs." Her first collection, inspired by the streets she'd survived, was a hit bold dresses for women who'd been told they didn't belong. Vogue ran a feature on her, calling her the voice of a new generation. Sophie, redemption in hand, wrote the piece herself. Kaya's phone buzzed with orders, but she never forgot where she came from. She hired girls from the Bronx, giving them jobs and a chance to dream. Lennox, back in his penthouse, threw himself into work. But the emptiness lingered. He didn't chase Kaya. He knew she needed this, needed to find herself. But every year on the anniversary of the night they met, he sent a bouquet of white roses to her studio with a note. "My neon girl. I'm still waiting." He stood on his balcony, the city's lights stretching out like a canvas, and wondered if she ever thought of him. Kaya did. Late at night, when the studio was quiet, she'd find the latest bouquet, her fingers tracing his words. She'd smile, a mix of pride and ache, and whisper, "Maybe one day, rich boy." But for now, she was enough, more than enough. One evening, as she locked up the studio, Henry appeared, his gray suit impeccable as ever. "Miss Ellison," he said, his dry tone hiding a twinkle. "You've done rather well for yourself, though I must say you've left my employer a hopeless romantic. He's considering a dating app of all things." Kaya laughed, the sound free and bright. "Tell him to stick to tech. And thanks, Henry." "For everything." Henry tipped his hat. "Good luck, my dear. You're a force." She watched him go, the neon sign above her glowing against the Brooklyn sky. The city hummed alive with possibility. Kaya Ellison was no one's toy, no one's scandal. She was a fucking star, and she'd light up the world on her terms. Yo, that's the end of Lennox and Kaya's wild ride. Did their story hit you in the feels? That final choice, Kaya flying solo, Lennox waiting. Phew, it's a lot. Smash that subscribe button, hit the bell, and drop a comment below. Should they get back together, Or is Kaya better off owning her glow? What's your takeaway from this neon saga? Let's keep the convo going.